My digital portfolio holds 3 stories which describe the social teaching theme. The first social teaching theme is solidarity. Solidarity is the notion that we are connected with our neighbors. We are one human family. We are our brothers and sisters keepers, wherever they may be. Loving our neighbor has global dimensions. At the core of the virtue of solidarity is the pursuit of justice and peace. Our love for all of our brothers and sisters calls us to seek a peaceful and just society where goods are distributed fairly, opportunity is promoted equally, and the dignity of all is respected. A news story that supports this theme is that of the National Basketball Association of Basketball Players, the NBA, where teams staged a silent protest against Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling before the games of a first-round playoff series. Sterling was allegedly caught on tape making a series of racist remarks about African Americans. Basketball players removed their warm-up jackets and placed them at mid-court before the game, revealing t-shirts that were turned inside out to hide the team logos. The players wore black socks and headbands during the game. Donald Sterling was banned from the NBA for life and fined $2.5 million following a league investigation confirming that Sterling did make the racist comments featured on the audio recordings. However, the NBA commissioner announced that the National Basketball Association would immediately begin working to force Sterling to sell the team he purchased for $12.5 million back in 1981. The second theme of Catholic teaching is respect for human life. Respect for human life is to love and be loved, but for cold-hearted people, it would be just to live and see what happens. It's the simplest, but for people who need a hope, it's like seeing through thin air, that's all. Human life at every stage of development, from conception to natural death, is precious and thus worthy of protection and respect. According to the BBC News, there are hundreds of thousands of people currently detained in Syrian prisons. Many of them are humanitarian workers persecuted for assisting civilians in opposition to controlled areas, a charge that is equated with supporting terrorism. Also, Life for Syria has lost many of its members to detention, some of whom have disappeared throughout the Syrian conflict, and human rights organizations have repeatedly criticized arbitrary detentions and brutal torture and abuse of prisoners by the Syrian regime. Today, these claims were corroborated by a solid and shocking evidence. The defector of Syrian military intelligence smuggled over 30,000 photographs of bruised corpses out of the country, identifying them as prisoners who were tortured to death. More than 160,000 people, including more than 8,000 children, have been killed in the 3-year civil war in Syria. A human rights organization reported a total far higher than the last reliable count. The figure includes civilians, members of the Syrian military, foreign fighters, and rebels who rose up against the government of President Bashar Assad, and said the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, based in Britain. The United Nations reported that at least 100,000 people had been killed, but the UN stopped updating its count after that because it could no longer verify its information. The Human Rights Organization put its count at 162,402. That included almost 54,000 civilians, more than 37,000 Syrian soldiers, about 25,000 pro-government fighters, and almost 27,000 rebels. The civil war has pitted the rebels, who are mostly Sunni Muslims, against the Assad regime, which is dominated by the Alawite sect of Shiite Islam. Among the opposition, Islamic extremists are playing an increasing role. The last theme of Catholic teaching is dignity of work. We all believe that work is just a way to make a living, but work is one of the ways that we participate in the ongoing creation of the world. That means those who are responsible for the employment of people have a special responsibility to make decisions that uphold the dignity of workers and their rights. Those rights include being able to earn fair wages, to have productive work, and to have a say in the decisions that affect them. In recent days, Pope Francis's discourses and speeches to workers and to those in a position of responsibility in this field stated that about 27% of workers expressed anxiety when considering their vocation. Scared, uneasy, unsure, confused, and apprehensive were common words in describing the way they felt about their future vocation. Many adults fail to discover their calling in life too. Why is it so hard to find this thing we call our vocation? Every person is created in the image of God, full of dignity, with unique talents and gifts to use for the glory of God in their work. One reason why so many Christians fail to discover their vocation is because they don't fully understand what it means to be made in the image of God.